I mentioned in my review of For Your Eyes Only, ever since Roger Moore took over as James Bond, there seemed to be a good bad pattern to the films. If you follow the pattern, then Octopussy, well, it should be pretty bad. After all, it's the fifth movie with Moore, and the previous film, For Your Eyes Only, was pretty good. But Octopussy wound up being the film to break this pattern, as it actually is pretty good. The name Octopussy came from the second collection of short stories, which is most often called Octopussy and the Living Daylights. And while there is a story called Octopussy in it, the film seems to be more based on The Property of a Lady, another short story from Octopussy, and the phrase the property of a lady is even said several times in the film. The story does seem to connect to the original Octopussy storyline, however, as the original story has Bond going after a rogue agent, and he offers to let the man commit suicide to save face. The character Octopussy in the film, played by Maud Adams, who had a minor role in The Man with the Golden Gun, and would appear in a later film, also appears in a minor role, seems to be the daughter of the octopus-loving agent from the story. But for the most part, it's based off of The Property of a Lady. Once again, Bond is investigating the murder of a fellow agent, 009, who was tracking a stolen Fabergé egg. Somehow he got mixed in with a circus run by Octopussy and was killed while disguised as a clown. Bond investigates and gets mixed up with the villain, Kamal Khan, a renegade Soviet played by Louis Jourdan, who was working for General Orlov, played by Steven Berkoff. Also appearing are a memorable henchman named Vijay, played by Vijay Amrita. I don't know how to say it. And there's the new M, played by Robert Brown. It's somewhat unknown whether Robert Brown is playing the same character of Admiral Sir Miles Messervy that Brian Lee played, or if he's playing a new M. Some believe that, as Bernard Lee appeared as Admiral Hargreaves in The Spy Who Loved Me, that this is the same character who was promoted to M after the first character's death or retirement. Anyway, Bond looks into the trail of smuggling Soviet artifacts and learns they go through a mysterious woman known only as Octopussy, who is the head of a weird octopus cult. This makes sense, as her father, the character from the story Octopussy, was obsessed with octopuses. It's also worth mentioning that Ian Fleming himself had a pet octopus named Pussy, which is where he got the name of the story from, and also the name Pussy Galore from Goldfinger. Initially, Bond winds up in Octopussy's palace as a prisoner. Though he eventually escapes, he returns later to confront her and learns that she's actually on his side, as she feels he did her father a favor and she owes him a debt. For the rest of the film, they are allies, and they work together to take down General Orlov and Kamal. The plot eventually accumulates in Orlov putting a bomb on a circus train and Bond trying to stop the train. When he fails to stop the train, he infiltrates the circus and, just like 009, dresses up like a clown. Now, let me take a break here to talk about this part of the film. A lot of people who don't like the Roger Moore films have pointed out this scene as being iconic. They claim that the Moore films were too light and campy, and that he basically turned 007 into a clown, and therefore Octopussy having an important scene in which Bond is dressed as a clown, attempting to warn people of a bomb, and no one taking him seriously, is indicative of the direction the series had taken. Personally, I think they're not looking at it objectively, as Roger Moore, while he is my personal least favorite Bond, did make some great films, such as The Spy Who Loved Me and For Your Eyes Only, and I feel that Octopussy often gets a bad rap, with most people disliking the movie either for this one scene where Bond wears the clown disguise, or because the title of the movie sounds suggestive, something they'd probably never get away with today. Anyway, Bond does manage to stop the bomb, and he pursues Kamal to India, where his men and Octopussies are engaged in a battle. In the final battle, Kamal tries to escape on a plane, and Bond has to battle Vijay, the super tough henchman, outside of the plane. He manages to finally beat the guy, and Bond and Octopussy get off the plane before it hits a cliff and explodes. The film is often considered to be one of the poorer films, but as I mentioned, people are usually focusing on the clown scene, or they're bitter about the title of the movie. When looked at objectively, Octopussy isn't bad. It's another fairly down-to-earth spy story, and it's handled well. One criticism I do have, though, is that it's regarding Roger Moore. A lot of people felt he was getting too old to play Bond, and I have to say I agree. As a matter of fact, even Roger Moore agreed, as he attempted to quit the role after doing For Your Eyes Only, though Eon Films would manage to convince him to do 2 more films. Moore said he felt silly doing love scenes with girls young enough to be his daughters, and he was starting to become unconvincing in the action scenes. While I don't think it's nearly as much of a problem as some people do, and not nearly as much of a problem as it would be in the next one, there's no denying that Roger Moore was showing his age. Anyway, Octopussy is a decent film in the franchise, and I give it a 7 out of a possible 10.